I think it's pretty obvious we don't know what we're talking about, so I think everything's good.
Now y'all know what's wrong with me. And on that note,
I don't even know if it was bad reffing. I just know that it was bad on our part.
Go support your team. Go
Yes.
support fans, cheerleaders.
The auto mix inspired Michael Ball. It's the first time he's ever raised his hands on a yes.
Well,
so that's pretty impressive.
Scare that referee's coming back.
Let's talk a little football.
Hello and welcome to the Press Box. I am not Austin Reams.
praise the Lord. No. And here we go.
We're 15 seconds into it. Jim's already slinging lead. Randy Young here with Jim Rayburn. Michael Best is Austin is AWOL. I'm not going to question.
Voted him off the island.
That's it. And he'll be fine once he gets back. But today, the three of us are going to take it and run with it. And I will say that our fearless leader, Austin, did leave us some questions and stuff, Jim. And since I know the print is a lot smaller than what we're used to, I'll take care of you. I'll lead you to the right spot. The first thing Austin's wanting us to talk about, and I think is a good point, is how are the regions looking for the playoffs? Now, I'm going to go to Jim first because I think the Thomasville explanation is a little more involved than what you and I have got to worry with. And he's also got the tiebreaker scenario to explain to everybody as well. So this will officially end all that discussion. All right, Jim, all yours.
No, it'll never end all the discussion. Facebook and Instagram and they'll
for the folks who count, it'll end it. Let's just put it that way.
Well, right now, Thomasville, Fitzgerald, and Worth are tied atop the region with one region loss each. That's a three-way tie. So the three-way tiebreaker for Region 1A is point differential. Worth County beat us by 1. Fitzgerald beat them by 7. So Worth is -7. Going into last Friday night, we were -1. Fitzgerald was up. After we beat Worth by 15, now we're plus 14. Fitzgerald is on -7 and Worth is -6. Mm-hmm. So that puts that if everybody wins out, the scenario everybody wins out, Thomasville's region champ, Fitzgerald and Worth then go to head-to-head and Worth beat
Fitzgerald.
Fitzgerald beat Worth, so they be 2 and Worth will be 3. The only monkey wrench can be thrown in there is if Fitzgerald loses, then Worth moves to the top by beating us.
Head-to-head.
Head-to-head.
All of the points and everything at that point don't matter.
Right. So
Okay.
we're Fitzgerald Purple Hurricane fans.
There we go. And we'll talk about the Thomasville win over Fitzgerald in just a minute. Big win. Okay, so let's go to y'all's region. What's the situation there?
All right, so right now, I think that us and Peach County are tied.
For the region
for
lead?
the region lead.
Okay.
And we play Peach in 2 weeks. And then Westover has 1 loss in the region, so they're right there. So it could be a 3-way situation.
What's the tiebreaker there?
Not really sure.
Okay.
Probably hope it ain't voting nobody out because we got
Yeah.
voted out in 92.
Yeah,
We
yeah.
still mad about that.
Who voted y'all out?
We got voted out in 1992. You know who
Here
voted
we
us
go.
out.
Stirring it up.
You know who voted us
Stirring it
out.
up. Here we go.
Yeah.
The
you
cult.
want-
The
yeah,
cult
they-
voted y'all out.
Yeah, they did.
We were just talking about it.
Anyway, so we've got to play. We've still got to play Westover and Peach, so we'll know more really right down to the end of the season. But right now, it's kind of us, Peach, and Westover in the driver's seat.
Okay. Well, with Region 2, 5A, this is not Region 1 anymore.
No, that's unbelievable. There's not even a Region 4A in our area.
Anyway, don't get me started. Right now, Lee County has the driver's seat pretty well nailed down. And I think unless they've still got Houston County on the schedule, but it's going to be very difficult for Houston or anybody to take Lee. It's going to come down to Houston County, Thomas County Central, and Coffee to decide what happens after that. And we've got Northside this week. I don't know when Coffee and Houston play, but all of that will be decided here in the next couple of weeks. But for the Central folks, if Central keeps winning out and Lee County doesn't stumble, then Central would be 2, and then, of course, the winner of the Coffee and Houston game would be 3. At least that's the way it is right now. It just depends. There's still a lot of football left to be played. Let's go back to Thomasville and talk about the big win over Fitzgerald. Sounds like the Dogs really showed up and played a really, really solid game.
It was probably one of the best games we played in many years. The Bulldogs came out mad and ready to play and ready to fight. The first quarter was just head-to-head, knocking each other, and nothing went on. Then Fitzgerald drove down, missed a field goal. They had a legal procedure moved them back 5 yards, or they would have made the field goal. It came up about 2 yards short, so they didn't score. They got the ball back, stopped us, got the ball back, drove to our 4-yard line, and we caused a fumble. So we started a 96-yard drive, which was capped off by Ann Anderson on a 6-yard run. So we're up 7-0, and right before half we get the ball, and Nigel Pittman takes a screen pass and goes 26 yards, and we're up 14-0 at the half. Third quarter was basically a redo of the first quarter after we scored a 30-yard run by Ann Anderson to go up 20-0. The extra point was blocked, but then the rest of the third quarter was back and forth, both teams punting. We drove down, got a 32-yard field goal to go up 23-0. They scored with 9 minutes to go in the ball game, make it 20-8. They got back down. They ran a trick play that we beat Cairo with, and E.J. Bean, the linebacker, had intercepted that same play in practice, and he picked it off, and then we ran the clock out.
There you go. And Fitzgerald, they're not built to come back from behind if they get behind.
They're not as. When we played them in 21 in the state championship game, when they got in the single wing, they had some big guys up in front of the single wing, and they just sit there and 3 and 4 yards you to death. But they didn't have that, so they depended on a little speedster, and he could get outside you every now and then. But once our defense caught wind of his speed and all, we kind of shut him down. But then they had to go to throwing in the second half, and that's not their forte. So anyway, great game by the Dogs. Like I say, a 15-point win, and we did what we got to do. Now we just got to hope everybody else does what they need to do, and we win out.
Yeah.
Right.
So what's up next?
We got Brantley County this Friday night at home. I think they're the Herons. I don't know if they're the Blue Herons or what, but they come to town. They've only had one decent game where they upset Jeff Davis. They blocked a punt against Jeff Davis for a touchdown, ran a punt back for a touchdown, and ran a kickoff back for a touchdown. They didn't have much offense on the night. And then we're off, and then we go to Barron County.
Gotcha. All right. But the Dogs in good shape, and
right.
the win against Fitzgerald puts them in the driver's seat as far as we're concerned.
Defense played as well as they can possibly play.
And that's what you want. It sounds like they're heading toward the peaking at the right time. Speaking of peaking, 3 games in a week. The syrup makers ought to be tired.
Busy week for sure. Played Friday was a week ago. Played against Leon, and then we played Monday to finish up the Bainbridge game. Won that one, and then we played Friday night and beat Monroe. So it was a good week, but it was a busy week. Mm-hmm. And Monday night's game really disappointed me a little bit because I thought we came in, we had to continue the Bainbridge game. We were up 27-7. Where it would start is Bainbridge would have the ball 4th down and 8 from their own 40 with 5 minutes and 4 seconds.
And you said they wouldn't punt.
And I said
they wouldn't punt.
Ain't no way they're going to punt. They're going to run the annexation of Puerto Rico or whatever it is, a triple reverse throwback pass,
Not the annexation
or something. They're going to run something that's got – because I'm thinking you ain't got nothing to lose. You want to try to keep the ball,
the dice,
go down and score. They line up and punt it to us. We took it, drove it right down and scored. Kicked off to them. They came out. Brian Duncan picked off a pass, went about 50 yards for a touchdown, and it was over.
Game over.
Somebody on this panel told you didn't have nothing to worry about.
Well, still, it's Bainbridge. 7 years in a row they
This
beat
is
us.
Not Bainbridge.
It's not the Bainbridge we know for sure.
That's true.
And
hey, it doesn't matter.
It's Bainbridge. It doesn't matter.
You broke
10
that
years from now, won't nobody know.
You broke that 7-game losing streak.
We did. We got that.
Matters.
We got that behind us, and so. And then we came into Monroe, and at that point, Brian Duncan had gone over 1,000 yards, and he was at 1,200, which that's the earliest of any running back I've ever known.
That's pretty sporty.
Ain't
Ain't nothing wrong with that.
And he's really only done it on half the carries of the. I know a lot of people say, well, he's the only one who gets the ball. He's actually carried it less than half of any of the other offensive plays.
Well, when you add all the teals up, see, they can't keep up.
The rest are all the teals.
Yeah, you add all them up.
Yeah, you got to add them, multiply by 3, divide by 2, and then that tells you what you got there with all the teals running the ball. But so we get the win, then we come in to play Monroe on Friday. And we've talked about it for years. You got to get Monroe early, and if you don't, if you let them hang around. Quarterback is very mobile, did a great job. Again, we knew he would.
He's athletic.
We chased him a lot. But we jumped on him and got on him pretty good. But then they started to get a little chippy. And you could see it early. There was a lot of stuff after the plays. and nothing was being called. The officials, in their defense, I think, were just trying to not penalize anybody, just trying to talk everybody down. And I'd said on the radio a little early, if y'all don't start throwing some flags, of course they can't hear me from
They
where
need a
I'm
headset to
at.
communicate
They need a
with you,
headset
Mike.
with
That
me.
would be a good thing.
That would solve a lot of problems.
That'd be dangerous.
Wouldn't it? And
I'd
so
pay money to hear that conversation.
They could
just
not
saying.
apparently hear me, but I was saying, if y'all don't start throwing some flags, this thing's going to get out of control. And so in the second half, and there was some stuff going on down in the, I know Brian Duncan got very frustrated with some stuff going on in the piles because there was a lot of extracurricular.
Piles are not for the faint of heart.
No,
in these
especially
games
when you
now.
when they started.
Yeah.
And there were several times that a play be over and you see one of our players just come tumbling out where somebody thrown him out of there. And finally in the second half they started throwing a lot of offset.
So this started in the
penalties.
first half?
Yeah,
I mean,
it started in the
okay.
second quarter.
Okay.
And they tried to, I think, remediate. And so finally in the third and fourth quarter, and finally by the fourth quarter, it was just, there was never any fights, but it was just a lot of cheap stuff after plays, a lot of talking, a lot of pushing. And so finally,
A lot of junk.
A lot of junk. And luckily there were no fights, no ejections. But finally the officials said, if there's one more thing, we're going to call the game. And so we scored and kicked off to them, and there was one more thing.
That's it.
And so they called the game with 2 minutes and 15 seconds.
Final
left to
score?
play. What was it? 48 to 14, I think.
Okay.
Something
Okay.
like that.
Okay.
And Brian had 195 yards on about 12 carries, I think, and had 3
Good night.
touchdowns.
He didn't
had
get 200 yards, did you? What's he doing?
Yeah,
What
he's
the heck?
slowing down. He had a 98-yard pick six that got called back for a block in the back.
Oh.
15, 20 yards behind the play. And I can remember when he played middle school, it used to frustrate me because in middle school he would reverse field. He'd get over here and it'd nothing, and he'd come all the way back. And 9 times out of 10, one of them little middle schoolers are blocking the back or something, And, I'm a principal, so I'm going to go down and say, they're going to listen to me, right? So I would go down and say, don't block. When he does that, just quit blocking. Get out of the way. Let him go score. He don't need you to block, And but we had a 98, 99-yard pick six return because of a block in the back. But
And a big region win, though. That's the bottom line. And I know it's Bainbridge and everything, but that was one that you needed to, again, keep your momentum
right.
going.
And an interesting thing here, kind of a side note, I don't know if you watch college football this weekend, and interestingly, BYU's quarterback is Jewish, which is amazing because they had Jim McMahon too. So, but he was not Jewish, but there was a big to do on the game day about him being and he wears a Star of David, and he is very proud of his heritage, and he plays for BYU. And this weekend was Yom Kippur.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we have a starting lineman. One of our starting senior linemen is Jewish, so he did not play this weekend because it's Yom Kippur, and it's the holiest of holy holidays of theirs. And so it had been planned that would be our open date. Well, because we had to find a game after Wakulla, we had to move people around, so we wound up playing on what would have been our open date. And so one of our starting offensive linemen did not get to play because he was celebrating Yom Kippur.
Okay.
And, which is kind of just an interesting side note.
Did the Brigham Young quarterback play?
He played. Now, he said it would show more for his community if he played, and there's been some different opinions about that he didn't.
You guys took care of business.
But we did. And so now this week we have Doherty. It's senior night, and this will be our last home game of the regular season. And then next week we're on the road to play Peach County, and then we're on the road to play Westover to finish out the regular season.
Big time.
So, yeah.
Kind of the same story with Thomas County Central. Central, of course, had the week off this past week, and now we get to go to Warner Robins to take on Northside Warner Robins. It's kind of like Bainbridge. This is not the normal Northside Warner Robins team that you're used to seeing. It's like a revolving door up there. It kind of the flavor of the month. If Houston County's got a really good quarterback or somebody, then it's like the little everybody just kind of gravitates that way. Or if it's Warner Robins, or if it's Perry. I mean, you've got veterans. I mean, every time you turn around, somebody else is the flavor of the month. And Northside Warner Robins is not the flavor of the month now. So if Thomas County Central goes in there and takes care of our business, again, we will kind of finish up the same way. We'll finish up going to Houston County next week, and then Coffee County will come to the Jackets Nest the first week of November to wrap up the regular season. So hopefully right now still trying to play for that home playoff position, and a lot of football left to be played. Colquitt lost to Valdosta. That was not a total shock. Valdosta's pretty
The
good.
score was a total shock. It was a whole timey game, and I don't know if y'all heard the way Colquitt lost the game. they have Valdosta pinned deep in the territory right at the end of the game, and I don't know what the penalty was. They blocked the punt and got it out and ran it back to Valdosta's 15-yard line, but there was a penalty against Colquitt on the snap, and so Valdosta got the ball and took 2 knees, or it might have been a different story.
What was the final score, Jim?
7-3.
Yeah, you're not used to seeing that now.
Old slobberknocker.
Yep, especially with 2 high-powered offenses. But now, of course, Colquitt goes to Tift County. And the question that Austin has posed here, do the Packers have a defense that they can hang their hat on?
Evidently, because they stopped Valdosta's quarterback, who is very.
Yeah.
I understand he's going to Georgia as a DB, but we've seen him since he was a sophomore having scrimmages with him, and he's
real deal.
He's the real deal.
Well, there's no question. I think that their offense, Colquitt's offense, has had to grow up. I mean, just an extremely young unit. Anytime you hear of a school starting a freshman at their quarterback position, you know you've got a young situation there. And I think they've kind of had to hang their hat on that defense to keep them in these games. But there's no question about it. You hold Valdosta or Colquitt to 7 points, or Valdosta to 7 points, you've done something with that team. So I think they've got a defense they can hang their hat on. Once the offense catches up to that defense,
right,
they're going to be something.
I understand the Packer offense is getting better and better, but Valdosta's probably got the best defense in the area overall.
Yep.
So.
Yep. Mitchell County defeated Pelham in the Mitchell County Brawl, or whatever you want to call it. I'm not sure.
Backyard Brawl.
Is that what they call it, the backyard brawl?
I think so. I've heard that.
It wasn't much of a brawl. I don't know the final score, but Mitchell County kind of put it on.
Yeah, I saw.
Pelham actually led, I think, for a little while.
A little while
Mitchell,
early,
yeah.
but then Mitchell County rocked them.
Mitchell County will be going to play Miller County. I think that may be home. And then Pelham travels to Early. That's always
that'd be a big ball game. That's a big ball game in that region.
That is normally a kind of a rivalry game of sorts between two schools that dress up in blue and gold. Brookwood had an open week. They've got Tift area coming into town. Brookwood, another one of those teams, just growing as the season's going along.
They don't even have enough players to play a JV schedule, so
Yeah.
they're all playing varsity.
Yeah, it's one of those years. I mean, we've talked about that many, many times. Sometimes you just go through one of those years. You just have to hold your nose and push through it. But hopefully the Warriors will get the right track under them this week with Tift area coming in.
I want to say something too, because I got rushed. I don't know. I got nervous. I get
Nervous?
He gets nervous. He's so humble. He's so shy.
Yeah,
Jim.
so
I did want to
shy.
mention our kicker, Dre Bass, who first year kicking. He kicked a 41-yard field goal, which is his first field goal of the year. So I thought need to mention him. And our secondary, which has been we've worried about our secondary. Against Bainbridge, we had 4 picks, and Trey Breland had 3. Brian Duncan had 1. And so the secondary is picking it up.
Settling in.
Picking it up. And our quarterback, Bryce Wilson, we don't throw a lot because we don't.
Why would you?
Hadn't had to.
Yeah.
A little
but,
pitch every now and then.
Yeah, and but Bryce Wilson had we only throw about 5 or 6 passes a game, and
They
at
got
one
number
point,
4, by the way.
Yeah.
one point he was 4 for 4. So
4 for
Ironic.
4.
hey,
Ironic.
perfect.
Ironic.
You know, so there you go. But I just want to mention those guys too.
Well, a good week for the syrup makers, good week for the Dogs, and hopefully it will continue as we head toward the close of the regular season in the next couple of weeks, as hard as that is to believe. We'll take a quick break. We're going to come back and talk some college, and we'll be right back here on the Press Box. Welcome back to the Press Box. Not Austin Reams. No. This is Randy Young here with Jim Rayburn and Michael Best.
You could pass for Austin.
An old Austin.
An older
An
Austin.
old Austin. I'll take that as a compliment. And I've got the names right. See, that's one good thing.
Right.
here.
You're way ahead of the game.
Hadn't got confused yet. Taking a look at some college action, and we've got a huge game coming up this weekend between Texas and Georgia, the first SEC meeting between these two schools. And the question as it is framed here by Austin Reams is,
It's meant for me.
Well, we're going to Jim first. There's going to be 2 different angles here. Are you officially worried about Georgia? So, Jim, you take the floor first.
As a Texas Longhorn, yes, I'm
Oh,
officially worried
please.
about Georgia. A wounded dog is a dangerous dog, and Kirby's.
Unless it's a Chihuahua.
Yeah.
Well, they're the worst.
Well,
Yeah.
whether they act like
They're
it
just
anyway.
loud.
It's not the size of the dog in the fight.
This is true. This is
But
true.
I know Kirby Smart's got something up his sleeve, and it's going to be a great ball game. I'm glad it's at night so I get to see it. But yeah, you don't, as a Texas fan, you take nothing for granted. We had the big game against Oklahoma, and that's a distraction, and it's how we come off of that.
They played good though.
We played good, but it was shaky to start with because Ewers had some rust on him, but he worked through it as the game went on. But yes, Georgia scared me, especially following the Red River Classic. There's no break.
Well, is that what worries you the most? Is the timing?
Yeah, the timing.
Okay.
Because
I can tell you there's not a whole lot.
That was very emotional for Texas because we got blew out last year.
Right.
And that was something that was really marked on the schedule to take care of Oklahoma because they're the ones that came up with the horns down, and that Big 12 outlawed it, but the SEC hates us so much they said it's okay.
Of course.
But yeah, Georgia scares me.
Well, and I guess you could say that the Oklahoma game might be the best team that Texas has played to this point. I don't think Michigan could wear that hat anymore.
Well, Michigan has actually got it going.
Kind of turned it around.
They've turned it around after that game. So.
Okay. All right, now let's go to this side.
Oh.
Or are we worried about Georgia? I'll let Mr. Best take the floor first because I'm going to be saying the same thing he's saying.
You know, now I got to admit, Saturday I was at a wedding.
I wondered why there was no post by you.
That's why it was
Now I was watching it. I had it, which was frowned upon apparently by several people in the church. Apparently that caused a bit of distraction when a couple of times I just went, yes, just got the Holy Ghost in me.
Hopefully that wasn't the part where they said if anybody's got a reason these two shouldn't be married, speak now.
Well, so I was trying to keep up with the game, and I was at this wedding that my wife said I loved being at. And I was very honored to get to be at that wedding.
With your wife?
For some good friends, yes. And
yes,
it was
fellowship.
Now, apparently I missed some kind of a couples dance that.
Okay.
Uh-oh.
Well, you weren't watching the game when that happened, did you?
Might have been watching the game when that happened. Next thing I know, I'm the bad guy.
There you go.
You know, but from what I understand and from what I know from the past, we've got some trouble in the secondary that we've got to fix.
Yep.
And, you know, you still keep hearing the old offense and Bobo, but you're putting up 41 points in this. The offense ain't the problem. Now, it doesn't seem that we have an explosive offense, but we have an offense that can get things done. And we have plans that seem to work, but right now it looks like it's the defense. We hadn't been tackling well. We're still not tackling well. We're not covering the secondary. We got people just running around back there like nobody's even back there. So, yeah, there are problems. And but we've seen it. Here's part of it. We've seen that kind of stuff before, and then they come out against a good team like Tennessee a couple of years ago.
Or Clemson.
Played lights out at Clemson. Yeah. So and Alabama in the second half. So you don't know what's going to show up.
That's another reason I'm worried. I've got a bet with my grandson, and he's coming to watch the game with me. If Texas loses, I got to put on a Georgia shirt, which has never been on me.
If it happens, take a picture.
But he has to put on a Texas shirt.
Oh, okay.
We need photographic proof either way.
I don't take pictures.
Here we go. Well, I'm with you, Michael. To me, the biggest thing for Georgia right now is just the lack of a running game. It just is not there. If Carson Beck doesn't make it happen, it's not going to happen. And I think they're getting Roderick Robinson is supposed to be back at the end of this month, but they don't have a physical back right now. Branson Robinson's got a sprained knee.
Right.
Thank goodness it wasn't any worse. He got hit on a low tackle, and that you hold your breath because he's just coming off knee surgery himself. But if Georgia can't find a way to run the football, this is going to be a long day. Just saying.
And Kirby seems frustrated, and I think, and I was talking to a guy earlier today, and he was saying, you know, one thing I keep in mind, that coaching staff from when they were rolling to today is a completely different coaching staff.
It is. Well, that's what happens.
And so Kirby's kind of having to, I think he feels like he's got to do everything.
Maybe coaching more than he normally
does.
does.
He's coaching more than he's been coaching.
Shove other players.
Just got to get out of the
What
way.
the heck happened with that, man?
You got to get out of the way. He's got to go chew out.
That was his Woody Hayes moment.
Well, you didn't trip him or knock him down though. So
he's trying to go chew out his defensive coordinator.
He was after he was after somebody.
He said he wanted to discuss personnel.
I'm sure he was going to very much personally discuss.
Not discuss, but cuss.
Well, Austin is asking, should FSU commit to the run against Duke no matter what, regardless of whether they're behind or not? Jim, the resounding answer is no.
No, you can't. You can't just limit yourself to that. Even if you're if you're behind, especially you got to throw. You can't be like Jeff Davis against Thomasville. They're down 3 scores and they're still running and they're still taking 30 seconds off the play clock. You got to. I mean, you got to give yourself a chance to win. This is. You got nothing else to lose
Yep.
right now. You got to go for it.
Yep, 100%. And two, Michael, and I know the buyout's pretty stiff for Norvell, but he wants to keep his job.
Yeah.
I
So
mean,
he
if
better
you're behind
find-
a couple of touchdowns,
He better at least pretend like he's trying
that's
to win.
it. That's it. And hopefully again against Duke, FSU will see the light or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
All right, guys, you ready for yes or no?
Let's
Yes.
do it.
All right, let's jump into it. All right, Jim, we're going to you first.
Oh, my.
Tennessee should not be in the top 10. Yes or no? They should not be in the top 10.
They're winning, so, I'm going to say yes.
Michael?
I think they should be. They're not as what we thought they'd be, but they're still winning.
Agreed.
so.
Agreed.
They're not as good as they thought they were.
There you go.
Agreed.
Good answer.
Which that happens a lot
Right.
with Tennessee, it seems like.
Because
But
right down the road, the Tennessee River's just full of goalposts right now, and they don't have time.
But they're not theirs.
They're not theirs. And
It's
they can't
Vanderbilt's guys
concentrate with
now.
all them goalposts down there.
All right, Michael Best, yes or no? Georgia at Texas will be all offense. Yes or no?
Yeah, I think I think it could turn into a scoring
Yeah.
battle.
Yeah.
Yes.
Jim?
No, Texas defense won't allow that.
Ooh.
It's going to be if Georgia got a chance to win, they got to keep Texas's offense down.
So you think we're looking at one of these old-fashioned SEC games? It's not going to be a lot of points.
Texas defense front's pretty good, and their secondary's very good.
I don't think it will be all offense. I think Texas will be offense,
Okay,
and Georgia will be offensive.
Beck,
Yeah.
Beck doesn't pose the threat that the Oklahoma quarterback did. He could scat.
Yep. And that's not Beck.
Right.
All right, Jim Rayburn, yes or no? Saban could not fix this Bama team.
I'd say he could because 13 wouldn't be on the team. He certainly wouldn't have played this past week. And so I think there's a discipline problem, and I think Saban could straighten it out.
Michael?
I think to a certain extent, yes, but I think the reason Satan.
Satan.
There you go.
Careful now.
Sometimes the weekend slips up. Saban is where he's at now because I think the face of college football is changing to the point that
The soul of it.
I don't know that the Sabans and the old time coaches are going to survive much longer because of NIL.
I think Saban would have a shot at saving this particular team, but if this was to go on a year or two, I think it would be too far
Yeah.
gone. All right, Michael Best, win or lose, the FSU game is going to be painful to watch, yes or no?
Well, not for me, but apparently for Austin it will be. I mean, I like Florida State. I mean, I would hope they win, but I know poor Austin, that may be where he's at now in
Yeah, getting some therapy or something.
some kind of
beforehand?
therapy session.
Will it be tough to watch, painful to watch?
For Austin, but I will not watch it.
Yeah.
I'll find something. If I'm not picking peanuts, I'll find something else to watch.
It's going to be painful to watch. No way around it. All right, let's see here. Jim, or did I just had Jim. Let's go to Michael. Kirby is a good coach, but he's too pushy.
Ooh.
Austin Reams. Austin Reams.
trying to take a jab.
Yeah, a little low blow
A
there.
little altercation there
Okay.
on the sideline. We got to make it into a big deal, huh? So, no, he's just trying to get to his coach and discuss personnel, and sometimes things get in the way.
When push comes to shove, Jim, is
Push
he too
comes
pushy?
to shove.
If Woody Hayes was too pushy when he slugged the Clemson player on the sideline, I think Kirby's too pushy.
But he slugged the player. That's a great way of putting it. I remember that. The Gator Bowl against
Yep,
Clemson.
in the
I
game
remember it.
against Clemson.
I'm not. Kirby's not too pushy, but he was trying to get to one of his defensive coaches, and that could have got very interesting. All right, finishing it up right here. Jim Rayburn, yes or no? Ohio State's quarterback is going to need help at the New Year's Eve party when the seconds count down to 6. Yes or no?
Well, the thing about that was, we'll go back a play or two. Oregon had 12 men on the field participating.
Yeah.
That's illegal participation, not
Supposed to be.
not illegal substitution. That's 15-yard penalty. We're in field goal range, so we kicked the field goal.
Right.
But I disagree with the coaching decision there. I know the kid had not kicked a 40-yard plus field goal,
Yep.
but he can kick it out of the back of the end zone.
Yep.
So I'm giving him a shot to win the game with the field goal. But Howard got down. It was a first down. The clock was supposed to stop for a first down, and it didn't. He got down right at the buzzer, but
Yep.
I know. Anyway,
Should have come to
that,
that.
that was a great game, but
It really was.
It didn't wind up the way I wanted it to. But I don't believe there'll be an undefeated team at the end of
I'm
the year.
saying the same thing. 1,000%. So he's going to need help at the New Year's party when he gets out
No,
of 6 seconds?
he just needs help in other areas, as Jim said.
I
a lot
agree.
of stuff.
He will not
Perfect
need
storm.
help at the.
He played a great game. Really
The whole
played,
game, man,
really
it was
played
fantastic.
a great game. Both teams played well.
There were a bunch of really good games. I mean, the LSU Ole Miss game was a lot of fun to watch. I mean, Alabama and South Carolina. Who in the heck would have seen that coming?
Yeah.
All
I was
right,
almost
guys.
late for said wedding for watching that game.
This guy right here who missed the couples dance.
Missed
I
the couples
hope,
dance.
I hope Tam's watching this.
Make up for that.
Next week, Austin Reams will be back. Hopefully you'll be back. For Jim, for Michael, this is Randy Young. You guys have a great week. Go out there and support your favorite teams. We'll see you.